Young Junk! One podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, aka the Bat Tribble. And as always, I'm joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Bootober. As we celebrate everything black horror here on the Michelle Mission. And tonight, to start things off, Vincent has selected for your reviewing pleasure from 2018, The Transfiguration.
All right. Pace yourself. We just got here.
But first, shout out to each and every one of you who are watching as we are streaming live from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. Right there to all of you watching on your screens on YouTube or on Facebook and who have joined us in the chat. Shout out to all the missionaries.
Good evening, one and all.
Vincent, how are you doing, my friend?
I am fine. Happy to move into fall just as it heated up again here in Philadelphia because climate change is real.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It was what, in the 60s last week?
It was crisp and cool. And I said, I'm not going to fall for it. I know it's going to get hot again. But then I fell for it. We actually put the heated blanket on the bed.
Oh, because you fell all the way.
We did, because it was cold. It was chilly. And then, of course, now
it's 80.
It's 80 degrees.
It's 80 degrees. People are drinking from coconuts as they walk in the streets of Philadelphia.
Right.
It's the way it goes.
Exactly. But I am fine. And yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing well. Very well. Thank you.
Good to hear.
We do have to start the show off on a little bit of a somber note.
Yeah.
But it's more of a celebration.
Yes.
Because recently we were saddened to learn that the world of black cinema and cinema in general has lost one of its champions.
Mm-hmm.
In Pearl Bowser, who passed away on September 14th at the very young age of 92 years old. Pearl, who was a noted director, producer, historian of black cinema, who wrote one of the definitive books on our namesake, Oscar Micheaux.
Yes, she did.
Yeah, she co-wrote the book Writing Himself into History, Oscar Micheaux, his silent films, alongside Louise Spencer. Pearl, from a very young age, had a lifelong passion with film and, more importantly, black film and our depictions, the depiction of the African diaspora on film. And she made it her life's work to not only have all of our works properly preserved, but also to have them given their just due creatively and culturally throughout her life. And Vincent and I were very honored a couple of years ago when we made our way to Blurred City Con in New York. Vis-a-vis the Blurred City creator and friend of the show, Clarissa Clay.
What's up, Clarissa?
She actually introduced us to Pearl, and we actually sat down and had a really cool conversation with Pearl. We were unfortunately unable to get a recording of the conversation, but we had a very nice visit with her. She was a very dynamic, even at that time, she was an elder woman, but very dynamic, forceful, vital personality. And it is one of the cherished moments here on the Michelle Mission. So we were very saddened to hear of her loss.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that you said about her being a historian and being this sort of cultural figure. And it's worth noting that when you read the story of several of the Oscar Michelle films that we've talked about a lot over the years, some have been lost, some you didn't know where they were. She is in the center of more than one of the stories of how those films were saved. So she really was a champion. She really was a historian.
And not just the Oscar Michelle film. She is one of the reasons why we are able to take in Ganja and Hess. In the way that we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like you said, across the board, just a champion of the culture. And it was a real loss. And like you, it was such an honor to spend some time with her.
Yeah.
It really was. So she will be missed.
She will definitely be missed. So we wanted to make sure that we paid our respects to her and her family. And to Clarissa, who I do recognize was a very close friend of hers as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. We are going to get this train moving as far as the show goes, ladies and gentlemen, here in the month of Bootober, as it were. And I know of your hesitancy with horror films.
Yes,
Vincent.
Yes, absolutely.
So one of the things I was thinking about, and I don't know if we've ever touched on this.
Okay.
But do you have to do any type of mental gymnastics before, going into this month or sitting down to actually watch any of the films that we have to watch?
Well, no. I think the film that I was most hesitant about was the original Candyman.
Okay.
Which we talked about. It's been a few years now. But since then, so far nothing has been drop dead scary.
Okay.
That's drop dead scary. I know I was thinking, I just forgot the name of the film that just came out a few months ago. Was it Talk to Me?
Yes.
And that has a black lead. And I said, oh boy, I think that might fall under our purview. And that looks really scary. Like I took note of that. So far, I've really, really enjoyed all of the films that we've watched. And none have scared me.
None of them is scared you.
Right.
So that's good. That's good. I wondered about that. I don't want to.
So far, so good. Like I said, I was hesitant about Candyman, and I still find Candyman a little
off-putting.
Little off-putting.
You're a little shaky.
But, I have to say, the films tend to fall underneath the rules of the diaspora, where, like, anything that happens to people, well, why you messing around with stuff you shouldn't be messing around with?
That's a good point.
Like, speaking of Candyman, I always say Candyman is the blackest supernatural creature of all time. Like, he is the personification of keep my name out your mouth.
That's right. Absolutely.
Like, it's all this chaos in the Candyman films, but I feel like if you pan the camera 3 feet to the right or to the left, there are people living their lives because they don't mess with Candyman.
Exactly.
So,
all right. So, with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to emails.
All right.
And that means it's missives from the missionary.
All right.
What's going on, Lynn?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries.
Ooh.
Missives from the missionaries.
Interesting enough, Vincent, you brought up something about the films that we are watching. Our weekly email from Michael Sykes
Hey, Michael.
has the subject line, black films where the lead role is white.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Len and Vincent, do you consider these movies, black films where the lead role is white, do you consider these movies as black films, even though the lead roles are not played by black actors, but rather have supporting characters? Such examples would be 1979's Fast Break, 1992's Unforgiven, Blue Chips, Rocky 3, 8 Mile, White Boy Rick, Madagascar, or Bringing Down the House, which Mike says he personally dislikes, or Malibu's Most Wanted, which he dislikes even more than Diabetic hates having diabetes. It's
Is that like the opposite of I like that the way a fat kid likes cake?
That's exact opposite. Yes,
Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And I understand that because Malibu Most Wanted it's rough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it goes on to something about hip hop. So I'm going to stop it there for now. We have covered and we've reviewed some films that do have what people may consider a white lead.
Absolutely.
But we still considered it as a black film. He's mentioned 1979's Fast Break. Is that the movie? That's not the one that we. No, I'm thinking of Fast Forward.
Yes.
That's Fast Forward.
Yeah.
But I think there's an argument to be made whether or not Irene Cara is the lead of Fame, but we consider that a black film.
Yeah, absolutely. And something like The Landlord is
Exactly.
100% a
Bo Bridges.
Bo Bridges film.
Right.
You know, Soul Man
Is a white guy.
is actually a white guy. So
Is a white guy.
So, you know, I do think a lot of it is case by case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Case by case. And certainly, as you were listing the films, I was going, okay, that one will be black. Oh, I don't know about that one.
Oh, well, that's interesting. So he listed Fast Break, which I'm confusing with something else. So I don't know
That's
that one.
that's the basketball movie, isn't it?
Probably sounds like a fact.
Yeah, and I forget who's in it.
But so skipping that
I
one,
would say that because black people like basketball.
Unforgiven.
Right, I wouldn't say that was a black
I
movie
wouldn't say
at
that.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, me neither.
Yeah.
Which is the Clint Eastwood Western.
Yeah.
Blue Chips, which I think I know.
Blue Chips, I would count Blue Chips.
Who's in Blue
That's
Chips?
the football movie, right?
Yeah, but who's in it?
I mean, the funny thing is I'm saying I'd count it, but I can't remember anybody in it besides Nick Nolte.
Blue Chips stars. It's a basketball movie.
Okay.
Nick Nolte and Shaq and Penny Hardaway.
Yeah.
I guess the big thing is that Penny Hardaway is in there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, man.
Yeah. You know, it's sort of like I've gone back and forth about Any Given Sunday.
Ooh.
Exactly.
See, I think there's an argument to be made about Any Given Sunday before Blue Chip.
Yes.
Because Any Given Sunday is very much more of an ensemble.
Yes. And more than half of the ensemble is black.
Yeah.
And
the main thrust of the argument of the story is Jamie Foxx's character.
well, I think you could make a really strong argument. It's an Al Pacino movie.
Yeah.
Now you see my dilemma.
Okay. I would take that before Blue Chips, though.
So would I.
I would take that before. What about 8 Mile?
No, because 8 Mile is just
It's-
Rocky.
it really-
it's just Rocky.
Yeah, it is, and that's the same thing about Rocky 3, where he throws in Carl Weathers because of Carl Weathers
Right.
as a team. But that's not a black film.
Right.
It's not a black film. Bringing Down the House.
I thought Queen Latifah was the co-lead of
Yeah, I
that.
think she's the co-lead in that.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to go with that. And Malibu's Most Wanted is all about bigging up that knucklehead whose name I don't even want to remember. So no.
Yeah.
I don't think about him. All right, so I'm going to continue on Michael's email.
Okay.
I recently listened to Little Richard's albums from the 70s,
Yes.
and found that his 1970 album, The Real Thing, stood out as the best.
Okay.
One of the songs from the album, also titled The Real Thing, has been widely sampled by such artists as Pete Rock and CL Smooth for the song For Pete's Sake, as well as featured as the theme song for Mario Van Peebles' film Panther. The song, called Freedom, is performed by a variety of female rappers and singers, including Mary J. Blige, Queen Latifah, TLC, Aaliyah, Light, and more. Mm-hmm. I hope I didn't scare your last week's guests with the Monkey Hustle review, even though it is a bad film. You guys are doing such a great job. Keep up the good work.
Thank
Michael
you.
Sykes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike.
I remember, was Freedom before or after You Will Know from Jason's lyric?
I think,
Like, whichever one was first, the second one I always thought was a response to that one.
well, I think,
Like, we're going to have all the men, and then, okay, well, now we're going to have all the women. And I like both of those songs.
Well, I think Panther is after Jason's
After
lyric.
Jason's lyric?
I want to say that that's after Jason's lyric. Jason's lyric is what, 1996 or something like that? Panther movie. 1995 is Panther.
Okay.
So, yeah, maybe it might be right around the same time.
Yeah.
So, so there you go.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I feel like Panther had a pretty good soundtrack, too.
Really?
I think so.
I barely remember that movie.
Yeah, me too.
That's a movie I'm surprised hasn't come up
Yeah.
sooner on our.
Panther is 100% a movie that I would think of and then think of something that I want to review before that.
Well, the soundtrack only had really the two singles, Freedom and then The Points. So I don't know how, but you know,
Directed by your fave, Mario Van Peebles. Yeah, I know how much you love the directorial stylings of the Peebles family. So I'm surprised you haven't chosen it. So,
well, May's coming.
Oh, that's not fair. It's not. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it would make it.
It's definitely not a May.
It's not a May movie.
Yeah.
It's not a May movie.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't do that to it. All right. Okay.
Okay.
That is our emails, ladies and
All
gentlemen.
right. Thank you, Michael.
But in Bootober, we have made time for a return of the top 5.
It has risen.
So, Dylan, play that beautiful theme music, if you please.
Top 5. Who's your top 5? My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is.
Top 5, ladies and gentlemen, where I give Vincent a list and he gives us all his brilliant commentary.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And tonight,
Edge of our seats, all of us.
in keeping in theme for Bootober and the film, The Transfiguration, which speaks of a young black boy who may or may not be a vampire.
Yes, perhaps.
Vincent, I present to you
Okay.
5 black vampires
All right.
hiding in our midst.
5 black vampires that walk among us.
That walk among us.
Okay.
Starting with number 5.
Okay.
And this one we have talked about on the Michaud Mission.
Yes.
It is none other than Romani Malco.
Romani Malco.
The actor Romani Malco.
Yes.
Who is now at the age of 52 years old.
Yes.
Somewhere he is being cast as a 15-year-old.
Yes, he is.
The man never aged.
Yes.
Has never, ever
Yes.
aged.
Among black not cracking, everyone looks at him and goes, damn, what is your moisture regimen?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
He is a vampire in our midst.
Absolutely.
Would you not agree?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Number 4.
Number 4.
This is another vampire in our midst. And this is one who I think sneaks under the radar.
Oh.
because he's kind of slyly moved out of the limelight.
Okay.
But he is, in fact, a vampire.
And that would be?
Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Malcolm Jamal Warner. See, I kind of disagree with Malcolm Jamal Warner.
Why?
Because as opposed to Romani Malco, who looks exactly the same.
Yes.
I think Malcolm Jamal Warner has actually grown into like a much more handsome man than he was like 20 years ago. So like he's changing, but like for the better.
See, here's the thing. Here's what you don't know about vampires.
Okay.
Vampires, the reason why they're able to mix in company into the world, even though they are so long lived, is that they regenerate themselves.
They regenerate
over time.
Okay.
We are just in the midst of his latest regeneration.
It's like a Doctor Who thing going on.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. I'll take that.
Exactly.
Big fan. Big fan.
Because you like vampires.
Because I like vampires. But, also, like, obviously we all have a soft spot for Theo and,
I have a soft spot for him,
Yeah,
too.
right. And he's actually quietly kept working. Like,
No,
you talk
kept
about
working.
him not being in the limelight. But did you ever watch Jericho?
No, but I heard he was very good in that.
He was very good.
I heard
in
he was
that,
very good in that.
a show that I feel like is sort of like those Stargate shows, where like it was on for like a million years, but you didn't know
You didn't
anyone
know
who
it.
watched it.
Yeah.
But like like 3 people who go like, oh yeah, I kind of like that, and that's me with Jericho.
And Malcolm Jamal Warner's career.
Malcolm Jamal Warner's career. Yeah.
And I think he's done some directing as well.
Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
but yes, he has
Absolutely.
changed a little
Yeah.
bit. But the man don't age.
Hey man,
I think I'm pretty sure he stopped.
I think the brother moved to Atlanta. He mind his business, drink his water.
Is it water?
Them Cosby residuals ain't like they used to be 5 years ago. But he had a good 30-year run of Cosby Show residuals. It's not a bad life.
Okay.
So,
Next vampire.
next vampire.
This is another vampire that you would think has changed because they've been around so long.
Yes.
But when you really look at the history,
Okay.
this person has never changed.
Okay. And that would be.
Was born this way.
Okay.
Angela Bassett.
She's another one. Like, I think the only thing badder than 30-year-old Angela Bassett is 60-year-old Angela Bassett.
But 30-year-old Angela Bassett looks exactly the same as 60-year-old Angela Bassett.
I disagree. If 60-year-old Angela Bassett walked out tomorrow looking like 30-year-old Angela Bassett, I would say, is everything okay?
No, I disagree. That woman looks
Like
exactly.
maybe her and Courtney Vance, they must have had an argument or something. Because she looked like she looked when she was 30.
Have you noticed that Courtney Vance looks much older since he's married to Angela Bassett?
Do you think Angela Bassett is stealing his looks in his youth and his vigor?
Not his looks.
Just his vigor?
His youth and his vigor.
Just his vigor?
Yes.
Well, look.
Yes.
Well, God bless that man because he's doing the Lord's work.
God bless it. Yes.
Yeah.
Because she has not changed, Vincent. I don't
Well,
care what you
yeah,
say.
look.
30 years ago, she was in What's Love Got to Do with
You
It.
shouldn't have started with
She looks
Romani.
the exact same
You
person.
shouldn't have started with Romani Malco because, like you said, he is actually the same person. But then you got 2 people. It's sort of like the best man cast. Like you're making the best man cast argument, but like we said when we talked about the best man, like Taye Diggs and Morris Chestnut actually look better at 50 than they did when they were 25.
Okay, yes,
So is
but
that
they
a-
look totally different.
So is that a vampire?
No, they're not vampires.
Or is that they're just reaching their final form?
They're not vampires. They're not.
Okay.
They're not on my list.
Yes. Yes.
Stop jumping ahead.
All right. Go ahead.
Number 2.
Number 2.
This is another one.
All right.
Following in the Malcolm Jamal Warner phase.
Okay.
Is that we are just at his latest iteration.
Yes.
But what people don't know is that he has been in this iteration since the 1700s.
Okay, and that would be
Delroy Lindo.
yes. You're 100% right. But Delroy Lindo is like Morgan Freeman, where he was turned into a vampire when he was 52 years old.
That's very true. That could be true too. That could be true too.
Like, do you get the sense Delroy Lindo was never young?
No,
And I'm saying 52. He like 67 years. He'd been 67 years old for 40 years.
No, it's been for 400 years. It's from the
Yes.
17th.
Right.
There is photographic
Right.
proof that this man,
Right.
like I'm telling you, he's been around. He's been
I'm
around.
just saying. He didn't get turned when he was 20, though.
No, he didn't.
Right.
He did not.
Like, you look at him as West Indian Archie 30 years ago, and he was 67 years old. And now he's 67 years old. It's like the old footage of Morgan Freeman on Electric Company, where he was easy reader, and he was a young, hip easy reader, and he looked like he was 70 years old.
He ain't like that old. But yeah, he looked old.
He looked pretty old.
He looked old. He
Right.
looked like a man that was like,
He
you know,
looked like exactly how
this is what I'm going to be doing.
This just how I'm like this me right here.
This is how I pay the bills.
All right.
And it's paying the bills.
All right. Delroy Lindo,
Now we're at the number one.
number one.
This one hurts my heart, Vincent.
Okay.
This one really does hurt my heart. 'Cause this
Okay.
one cuts close.
Okay.
But I looked through all the data. And, you know, math don't lie.
Math don't
When
lie.
it's done correctly, math doesn't lie.
It's true. 2 + 2 is always 4.
And 2 + 2 means that the number one vampire hiding in our myth is Nia Long.
Who else would you have chosen?
She's a vampire, Vincent.
Yeah.
She has not aged.
You know what I'm going to say?
You're going to say that she looks better.
Look,
Look.
I like 50-year-old Nia Long.
Now, but again, here's the reason why. What is the most, outside of my deep affection and
Yes.
adoration and unabiding love for Nia Long, what is the other most famous thing about Nia Long? Is that she has trouble with holding on to in a relationship.
Yes.
And I think it is because
She's a vampire.
she's a succubus.
She's a succubus.
She's a vampire succubus.
She's a vampire succubus.
She is sucking these guys dry.
She's sucking
But I don't care because they're all bums.
because they're all bums.
Suck them dry.
By definition.
And leave them as dry husk
Dry husk.
in your wake, Nia.
Yeah.
Do that.
I feel like we're on real shaky ground with this part of conversation.
What?
Okay.
But I'm telling you,
right.
that's what I think.
All right. You know what the attorney said about.
I'm not going anywhere near her.
Okay. All right.
I'm just saying.
All right.
But math don't lie. Vincent.
I know. It's amazing how broad the definition of terroristic threats is. Easy. We don't want no trouble.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
That's the top 5.
that's the top 5.
All right.
Black vampires.
Black vampires.
hiding in our midst.
Hiding in our midst.
I'm looking at the chat. I see Farrah Blackwell's wonder whether or not Grace Jones would make the list.
I mean, Grace is pretty ageless.
That's a good one.
Yeah, she's pretty ageless.
That's a good one. I didn't look up her stats. That's a good one. Grace Jones.
I
is a
thought
good
maybe
one.
you were going to mention Bianca Lawson, who we've seen most recently on. How did I just forget my show?
I don't know.
Ava DuVernay show.
Oh, Queen Sugar.
Queen Sugar.
She's a good one. She's a good one.
And she literally has been playing teenagers for 20 years.
Well, you know who almost made the list?
Who?
And I just couldn't do it because I just couldn't do it. Stacey Dash.
Stacey Dash, another one.
Stacey Dash.
Sure. Even though, again, I was looking at Stacey Dash in the past year, and it's sort of like the Nia Long thing. It's like, you are actually badder now than you, like, you know, like I look at I look at her in like Clueless. Like I look at Nia Long, especially Nia Long in something like Friday. And they actually look like young.
Yeah, okay.
But it's like, God damn, you fawn.
See, but that's because they
That's it.
they toned down, they dressed it down.
Right.
You know, the vampires know what to do.
They know what to do.
Yeah, they know what to
Alright,
do, man.
vampire.
Especially the succubus.
So the succubbi?
The succubi.
The succubi.
The succubi know what to do.
The succubuses.
I know.
It's a lot of S's.
Yeah, I like that ass.
Oh, easy.
What?
So the top five.
That's the top five.
That's the top five.
Farrell Blackwell also suggesting Janet Jackson. No, Janet Jackson is not a vampire because vampires don't need surgery.
Okay. All right. Flag. Look,
What?
we're not supposed to talk about that kind of.
He brought it up.
Will you move on?
I'm just answering.
Now you had the Janet Jackson people, man.
It's
Judd. And that was the top five. Let's keep this train moving. What's next on the docket, Lynn?
bad black cops. No.
Let's see.
Next, it's time for 6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin.
6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin. Yes.
What? It's not. It's not. It's in plain sight.
It's a little below the belt. He ain't talking about no women's look and plastic surgery and Will Smith will be mad at us. And just go ahead and somebody say keep.
How'd you
Janet's
bring Will
name.
Smith into it?
Because you're talking about a woman's looks, and see that's how you get people to say keep filling the blank's name out your motherfucking mouth. And
Or somebody gonna come and walk in here. And
well,
Dylan's gonna walk from behind.
I
her.
mean, hopefully not. Can we just?
He hasn't given us a sign
okay,
yet.
all right.
Oh, he did. Okay. Yes, it's time for the Game of Kings, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
6 Degrees of D'Urville Martin, where I give Vincent 2 actors, and he has 6 films or less to connect them to none other than that other black vampire,
The original black vampire.
D'Urville Martin.
It was between him and William Marshall to play Blackula. That's 100% untrue.
And yet, it could be. Number 1, Vincent,
Number 1.
and 6 films or less.
6 films are. Is this themed?
No.
Like I thought you were going to say William Marshall or Aaliyah or Wesley Snipes or Grace Jones or Eddie Murphy. Like I was waiting for a black vampire, but I guess not.
No.
Oh.
It was 2 names that I pulled.
No connection to the film whatsoever.
No, they're black.
They're just.
I'll give you that. They're
You
black.
pull 2 black people.
I two
just,
black people.
Just pull 2 black people out. All right. Well, who's the first black?
The vampire research took a long time.
Sure.
So,
Who's the first black?
you know, arguing between Stacey Dash. Yeah, so,
Right.
number 1.
No.
This person, not a vampire.
Sticky Fingers from the short-lived Blade television show. Or was that Fredo Starr? Was that Sticky Fingers or Fredo Starr that played Blade on the television show?
I think that was Sticky.
I think that was Sticky
That was Sticky
Fingers.
Fingers.
Right, Sticky Fingers.
Yeah, because Fredo, he was on. Fredo was
He was on Moesha.
Moesha.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
This person was not a vampire or on Moesha
Or on Moesha.
or a rapper.
Or a rapper. How'd you feel about Onyx?
They had their moment.
I did not like Onyx.
And they had their moment.
I ain't like all.
You know, slam.
Oh my God, I hated that song so much.
What I didn't like about them, and this was not their fault, was that they hit so hard, because whether or not you liked them or not, they hit hard and it was a big hit.
Well, that was the plan, which is part of the reason I didn't like them.
And it hit so hard that my beloved Run DMC then tried to cop their style.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, guys.
Yeah.
This is just not.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
It just always felt like Russell Simmons sat in a room and said, how can we make something that'll appeal to white teenage boys?
Yeah.
He was just so blatant with it.
It was so blatant. Yeah, absolutely.
Ironically, I really like both of them as actors, though.
I mean, okay. I haven't seen either of them act.
I thought they had presence. Go ahead. Tell me, who's the first black that has nothing to do with vampires?
No, I don't mind this vamping.
I know. I see what you did there. All right. Who's black number one?
Adorable. In 6 movies or less, connect D'Urville Martin to
D'Urville Martin 2.
Garrett Morris.
Garrett Morris. I am the Ant-Man. I have the powers of the ant.
Yes.
Well,
that is a Saturday Night Live sketch that is worth looking up on YouTube.
yeah. And frankly, I could take the easy route and just go to Ant-Man. Remember, he has a cameo in the first Ant-Man.
I forgot all about
That's
that.
connected to that, but I won't do that. Instead, I will say that D'Urville Martin is in Dolomite with Rudy Ray Moore, who is in Penitentiary 2 with how I just forget his name from Cooley High. He's in Queen Sugar. He's the dad in Queen Sugar.
Lawrence.
No, not Lawrence.
No, because he's not in Queen Sugar. It's
Oh, I'm looking right at him. He's going through a real renaissance now too.
Oh man.
Colonel Taylor on Different World.
Glenn Turman.
Glenn Turman. He's in Penitentiary 2 with Glenn Turman, and then Glenn Turman is, of course, in Cooley High with Garrett Morris.
Okay, very good. Very good, Vincent. All right, now, in 6 films or less, connect D'Urville Martin to
Black number 2.
Felicia Rashad.
Felicia Rashad in movies. That's a good one. But this is how you get to Felicia Rashad in the movies.
Okay.
D'Urville Martin is in. How do I want to get? Okay, I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna go. Boy, any opportunity I get to use Penitentiary 2 twice is a good day. D'Urville Martin is in Dolomite with Rudy Ray Moore. Rudy Ray Moore is in Penitentiary 2 with Mr. T. Mr. T is in Rocky 3 with Sylvester Stallone, who is in Creed with Felicia Rashad.
Very good. Very good, Vincent. Well done. Well
Yeah,
done. Wow.
I tell you, got to use Penitentiary 2 twice. Who knew that would be useful?
Who knew? Who knew? All roads lead to D'Urville Martin and Penitentiary.
In Penitentiary 2.
All right. So that is 6 degrees of D'Urville Martin, ladies and gentlemen.
Those are 2 blacks that have nothing to do with vampires. How did you pick those 2? How random.
Very random. It's very random. I have actually absolutely no idea.
Did you?
Well, no, Felicia Rashad was actually, I was reviewing her stats to see if she was a vampire, but she is not a vampire.
Right.
So that's how I landed on her, and I don't know how I got to Garrett Morris.
What else is Felicia Rashad in besides the Creed movies?
She's a voice in Soul.
Okay, that's right.
She is also in a film, and it's a Netflix film that we both enjoyed, Jingle Jangle.
She sure is in Jingle Jangle. Mm-hmm. Aw, I love Jingle Jangle. It's coming up on time to watch Jingle Jangle too.
And she was in Just Right.
Does she play Common's mother?
I believe so.
Interesting.
No, is she Common's mom or is she
Queen Latifah's character's mom?
Yeah, she's Common's mom. She's Common's mom.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Nothing pre-Cosby Show.
Well, only one small movie, The Broad Coalition.
Yeah.
The small movie.
I was asking because
Oh, you know what she was in that we reviewed?
what?
That Billy D. Williams thing you made me watch, The Visit.
She sure is in The Visit. So you get to her in The Visit. I forgot she was in The Visit. Mm-hmm.
She was in Good Deeds.
Okay.
Yes, she's in a Tyler Perry movie.
I mean,
Woman Gotta Eat.
or she just likes Tyler Perry.
Yeah, I think it's more she. I mean,
Look, again, I don't know how much Tyler Perry is paying people and they paying some bills. I think people support Tyler Perry.
okay.
But I was watching clips from Love Boat because, of course, I was. And
You got on me about watching the practice. You sitting there on the clips of Love Boat.
right, because I was looking at a montage of all the women that Isaac dated over the years.
Oh, when they would bring a black celebrity
Right.
to the show.
And by black celebrity, just so you know,
Yeah.
because he dated both Felicia Rashad and Debbie Allen.
Felicia Rashad was on Love Boat?
Yes.
I didn't think, like,
And I think
that had to be before Cosby.
it's like a year or two before Cosby. But she clearly is Claire Huxtable.
Okay, but here's the thing.
That's why I asked was she maybe in a movie before the Cosby Show.
Yeah, but like, because before the Cosby Show,
That's what I'm
Felicia
saying.
Rashad, it was not a name.
No, she was just fun.
So she must
I heard you say celebrity, but sometimes they would just have a working actress on.
Yeah, she definitely was just a working
Right,
actress.
she just
Debbie
fun.
would have been a celebrity.
I mean, I guess.
Well, because the Love Boat goes into the 80s.
I don't
And by
know.
the 80s, and by then Fame is a
I
thing.
don't know where it fell before or after Fame. But the Love Boat, like I hear you saying celebrity on the Love Boat, but if your ass was on the Love Boat, things were not unfolding well for your career.
That's not always necessarily the case.
That is 100
because you could have been a younger person like Debbie Allen.
Well,
on the come up.
that's my point.
But if I'm saying Debbie Allen was still a name at that time.
No, not before Fame.
But I'm thinking that I think Love Boat and Fame kind of like cross each other.
And I'm saying once she was on Fame, she was not going to be on the Love Boat. Because I'm on Fame. Why am I on a Love Boat? Like I'm an actual celebrity.
Because I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why she might have been on Fame on Love Boat. Not saying this is the reason.
This can't be the reason because it was a million people on Love Boat that are going to contradict what you're about to say.
She might have just been on there because at the time you're on a cruise, you're taking a cruise.
Do you really think they were on a cruise?
On certain episodes, they were
They
actually on a cruise.
actually went out.
Yes.
There's absolutely no way she was on Love Boat after Fame or during Fame.
Let's see.
Now I
want to look at
right. Debbie Allen, Love Boat.
Debbie Allen,
Love Boat.
Love Boat. Okay. All right. Debbie Allen, Love Boat.
Love Boat. What year?
Give it a moment. Mm-hmm. Debbie Allen
Yes.
is on the episode Love Me, Love My Dog.
Yes.
/ Poor Little Rich Girl and The Decision. So these are all the plots in that.
Yes,
in that
absolutely.
episode.
What year was this episode?
This was 1977.
Yes. And what year did the television show Fame come on?
That's not important to this
That
conversation.
is. There's actually nothing more important to this conversation than this fact.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't
It
1977.
was, I believe it was after
I'm pretty sure it was-
1977.
I'm pretty sure it
Nobody
was after.
was on the Love Boat
1977.
in the height of their career.
I'm pretty sure it was.
Like, I missed the episode that Al Pacino was on.
I'm pretty sure it was after 1977.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So she was on the come up.
She was on the come up,
Fame
or, you know,
ran 1982 to 1987.
right, the sort of sunset of your career, or, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was part of the magic, though.
Yeah.
That was part of the magic of Love Boat.
So who else did he date?
Oh my goodness, I'm almost positive Jane Kennedy shows up.
I can believe that. Now
Yeah.
Jane Kennedy might have been cresting.
Okay, Jane.
In the 70s, she might have been cresting at that point
All right. I mean, what
because they were looking for things for her to do.
was the height of Jane Kennedy, though? Like, what was the apex of Jane Kennedy's acting career?
Penitentiary.
Right, or
No, not even penitentiary.
what
was it?
Probably
What was that movie?
the other boxing movie.
Blood. What was something in sugar or something, junk like that?
What's the name of that movie that
Blood and Guts.
she and Leon made, and then they were both in Playboy?
I can't believe I'm here. What was the name of that movie? I can't. Whatever. That was probably
Body and Soul.
Body and Soul. That's right.
Body and Soul was, I bet
That's-
this was before Body and Soul.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was like Jane Kennedy. Who else was in that montage that would have been really interesting?
Lola Falana. Did he date Lola Falana?
Maybe. Like, it was like
Trying to think of the
it was
names at
like
the time.
right, person after it was like, oh, okay, Isaac.
And I can see Lola Falana.
Right,
showing up on
right.
that boat. Like he Diane Carroll didn't.
No, not Diane Carroll.
No.
I don't think. Pretty sure Diane Carroll wasn't on there.
Yeah.
You know, we were just talking about Roseanne Caton a few weeks ago. I think she may have showed up. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, it was some bangers.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, it was bangers. It was like, oh, Ted Lang is doing his thing.
I'm sure.
But, you know, as far as they were famous, I don't know how famous they were. They were just real fun.
Okay.
But I remember Debbie Allen and Felicia Rashad.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, somebody actually said, yeah, Bernadette Stannis.
Burn it up.
Oh, yeah, Thelma showed up.
Yeah.
Thelma showed up. You know what I was thinking about?
That's a good looking.
Remember Harpo? I think it was Harpo. Remember JJ had friends? Remember JJ had the friends? And it was like TK Carter was one of them. And he had his boys. And then it was the one boy that was always hollering at Thelma.
Dude, you remember
Way
more
I don't
about
know if
Good
that
Times
was
than I do.
Papo. Because remember they were the awesome foursome until we are dead?
No.
You remember he was like, Thelma. And like he would spit his little game.
No.
I loved him because he was the only one on the show that I felt really acknowledged.
How fine she
Just how fun Thelma was. Like, I felt like I had taken crazy pills. Like, I was like Mobutu, I had taken crazy pills. Like, no one on the show
ever really acknowledged.
would ever acknowledge just how fun Thelma was.
Thelma was fine.
Except for JJ's dude. And I always loved, he was like my spirit animal. Because every time he was there, he had, Thelma, when you gonna give me a chance to take? And I was like, spit your game. Because that's what you're supposed to do. Because that's Thelma. I was thinking about him a few weeks ago. How I love that dude.
But you weren't thinking about Thelma. You were thinking
No.
about him.
I was thinking about Thelma, but again, it actually
You
did.
think about him.
It kind of stressed.
Not Thelma.
It stressed me out a little bit as like a 13-year-old that like nobody would acknowledge
Not thinking about Thelma.
what was going on with Thelma, or like
Not thinking
you know,
about Thelma. Thelma, which is what we want. No, you're thinking about.
no. Or, you know, like the Mirror Mirror episode of Star Trek. Like, I didn't understand why everything didn't stop.
When Uhura comes out.
Like, you're like, right.
Yeah.
It's like, is this,
Are y'all not seeing what I'm seeing?
is that her stomach out? Like, everyone, you know, it's like you learn about the Mirror episode. Like, you're a Star
These are
Trek
man
fan,
moments,
they
ladies and
talk
gentlemen.
about,
We're having man moments.
And, it's one of the famous Star Trek episodes. And what do everybody talk about? What does everybody talk about with the Mirror episode? Evil Spock with the goatee. Like, everyone talk, evil Spock with the goatee. And it's like, am I the only one that sees your hero? Maybe I'm crazy. Do I have X-ray vision? Maybe I have superpowers. Certainly, if everyone was seeing this, we wouldn't be spending so much time talking about Spock and his goatee.
I'm curious, to be equal opportunity. You can put it in the chat or you can email us at michonmission@gmail.com, ladies and gentlemen. For our lady missionaries, was there an equally jaw-dropping moment for you in Black TV or cinema history where you said, is nobody not seeing this? The one that comes out to my mind is what's the Idris Elba movie where he's terrorizing Taraji P. Henson in the house?
I've never seen that. I know what you're talking about.
There's a scene in there where Idris Elba is completely silhouetted and is drying himself off, and everybody in the theater swears they can see his penis. Like, he's completely silhouetted. Vincent, you have never seen so many women bringing out their flashlights to look at a movie screen thinking that you can see the man's penis. You cannot see his penis. But it made every woman in the theater stop in their tracks. And I'm wondering, just to be fair, is there like moments for all of the missionaries?
We just saw, speaking of vampires, we saw Blair Underwood in a soldier's play. Maybe 2 years ago. I think it was before the pandemic. But there's a part in Soldier's Play where Blair Underwood, because he plays Colonel
Jessup?
Colonel Davenport.
Okay.
Davenport. And if you remember Soldier's Play.
Which is based on, it's the movie, the Soldier Story.
Right, the Soldier Story is based on. It is set during segregation, basically. So he's in the barracks by himself. Mm-hmm. And at one point in the barracks by himself, he changes his shirt and takes his shirt off. Lynn, I thought they were going to have to stop the play. Like, Blair Underwood took his shirt off. Another one who I think Blair Underwood is 97 years old.
Yeah, you're right.
He took his shirt off and the whole theater was like, and I was like, they're going to have to stop the play. He's going to have to put his shirt back on so we can see the rest of the play.
Now, here's the thing. How did Wendy react?
Respectfully.
Very good.
So there you go.
That's good.
All right. What were we talking about?
It's time for us to get into our review of the Transfiguration. The Transfiguration. When troubled teen Milo, who has a fascination with vampire lore, meets the equally alienated Sophie, the two form a bond that begins to blur Milo's fantasy into reality. This 2016 independent film, written and directed by Michael O'Shea, stars Eric Ruffin in the lead role of Milo and Chloe Levine as Sophie. In Vincent's selection for today's inaugural review in our 2023 Bootober. Vincent, what say you of the Transfiguration?
Well, this is in many ways the type of quiet film that I'm drawn to a lot.
Okay.
I always talk about these films that are genre films on the surface, but they're really character studies in disguise. And, just an example of films that we've talked about on here, I think about the film Z for Zachariah, or Brother John, from the 70s. These very sort of quiet films that are connected to genre, but the films are much more interested in something introspective. And as you mentioned, this character, Milo, played by Eric Ruffin, this young actor, Eric Ruffin, is a young man who is very disturbed young man. We find out as the film goes on that he has gone through a great deal of trauma. And unfortunately, he has not responded to this trauma in a healthy manner. Like he's a definition of a troubled person that you hear people talk about, where apparently before the film starts, he has in the past harmed animals. And they talk about people who have ideas about harming animals, and then they harm animals, and then it escalates from there. And in a lot of ways, the film is telling us that this is his response to the trauma that he's seen, where he fashions himself a vampire, and he's trying to come up with these rules for how to be a vampire, and he engages in violent acts, and he keeps a schedule of violent acts. And as he tells the other main character in the film, Sophie, played by Chloe Levine, he doesn't necessarily believe in the quote-unquote rules that you learn about vampires from mythology or from pop culture. He thinks that there are some rules that he's sort of coming to intuitively.
Yes.
Speaking of Sophie, Sophie is a young girl, a young white girl who also appears to have gone through some troubling situations. When we meet her, she tells us that she's living with her grandfather because of some tragedy that has happened in her life. And these two alienated people come together and kind of go through this film. And again, it's quiet, it's introspective. 90% of the film is falls on the shoulders of these two actors. And of the 90% of the film that falls on the shoulders of these two actors, 40 to 50% of it is just on the shoulders of Eric Ruffin as Milo, where we just follow him through the film. And again, if you would have described this film to me, I would have said, oh yeah, this sounds like this is right up my alley. Where it's not so much a horror film or something that utilizes this vampire imagery and the trope and the language of the vampire to really comment on something else. But it's really about these human issues. But as much as I was pulling for this film, and I was, the Transfiguration just did not land for me. And it didn't land for a lot of reasons. And I think the primary reason, unfortunately, is as much as I'm pulling for Eric Ruffin, and he's a young actor, I think when you have a film like this, this very small film, this very intimate film, you have to have this central actor that can carry you through the film.
Yeah.
In the case of Brother John, you have Sidney Poitier, who, by the time Brother John comes out, he is this seasoned actor. The case of Z for Zachariah, you have, these three stellar performances. You have Chiwetel Ejiofor, you have
Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie, and you have Chris Pine in a role, speaking of Star Trek, where you and I have went back and forth for years about whether Chris Pine was a good actor in Star Trek. And like I said, this is what you should have showed me at the beginning of the argument. And Eric Ruffin nor Chloe Levine really have the weight to hold this down. And it is a thin line between introspection and meander.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so much of this film, I think, meanders, mainly because of their performances. The other issue I had with this film is for the most of this is written and directed by Michael O'Shea, who is a first-time screenwriter, early screenwriter. And pardon the pun, it could have been sharper.
Yeah.
Like I think it's hard to make a vampire movie now. Like I think of all of the sort of supernatural images and figures, whether we're talking about, zombies or Frankenstein's monster or werewolves. Like, there's so much baggage that comes with vampires and how we've used vampires, again, to comment on other things. Going back to Dracula. It's like, yeah, it's vampires, but we're really using this image of the vampire to talk about something else.
Right.
And he never really makes that connection in this film, that we are using this image of the vampire to talk about something else.
There are allusions to it.
But even the allusions to it, it never connects to a bigger issue or a bigger thing. And it was such a disappointment because, for me, the best scene in the entire film is the first scene, where the film opens in a public bathroom at a train station, I think, and there's a man at a urinal, and he hears this loud sucking, these loud kind of mouthy sucking noises. He looks under a stall and sees two pair of shoes, one facing the other. And from the look on his face and the fact that this is a film, set in 2016, 2017, you can infer that he thinks that this is illicit, perhaps anonymous gay sex happening in the bathroom.
Yes.
And then when the camera pans in, come to find out Milo has apparently murdered a man and is sucking his blood. Dry. So for me, I said, oh, so we're going to use the image of the vampire and the way that it's often been used, that the vampire is a metaphor of transgressive sexuality. And we're going to talk about anonymous sex and homophobia and all this stuff. And then when you see Milo, he's a small guy. So then I was like, oh, well, maybe we're going to talk about pedophilia too, and how that is forbidden and all of this. And then it goes nowhere with that. Like, there's none of that at all. It's just him kind of victimizing and doing this, that, and the other. And then, I have to say, I kind of wrote in my notes and underlined it. I said, this is just what Lynn talks about. For our newer missionaries, one of the first reviews we did, we reviewed The Last Dragon. And Lynn had a critique that has always stayed with me. There's a moment in The Last Dragon where Vanity's character is trying to seduce Bruce Leroy, who's very naive, but he's obsessed with martial arts and Bruce Lee in particular. And Vanity has a montage of footage from Bruce Lee films. And, you know, it's like Enter the Dragon and, you know, the Chinese Connection and this, that, and the other. And Bruce Leroy does the moves with Bruce Lee. And then the montage ends with Bruce Lee kissing a woman, which then that's, you know, his signal to kiss vanity. But Lynn said, you cannot have a mediocre film and discuss or show footage from or name check better films. And there is so much in this film because, again, Milo is obsessed with vampire movies. And there's a moment he's got VH tapes up, and it's The Lost Boys and Fright Night. And I'm like, and Lost Boys and Fright Night do what, you know, I'm talking about. Like, Fright Night is like this beautiful 80s movie about, you know, sort of the fear of blended families. And what if that dude that your mom is dating is actually a monster? You know, Lost Boys is like this sort of baby boomer fear of teenagers and, you know, these super cool guys. Mm-hmm. But what if those super cool guys are actually monsters? And then at one point, I said, oh, Transfiguration, you doing too much right now. Like, he name checks my two absolutely favorite vampire movies of all time. I'm like, you really don't need to be talking about Let the Right One In.
I know.
Or Near Dark.
I know.
Like, y'all really need to keep those names out your mouth right now.
Explaining why they're good movies.
Right. I'm like, ooh, don't threaten me with a good time, because I'll turn this off right now and put on Let the Right One In. So that by the end, I think the film meant well, but it just didn't land.
It doesn't land.
Yeah,
and you're right, because the premise of it is smart. Because it's a vampire movie that's not a vampire movie.
Right.
It's all about this boy believing or that he's a vampire as a way for him to try to escape the trauma that he is obviously dealing with, right? Mm-hmm. And I think another one of the most effective scenes later in the film, like you see hints of it in the film. He lost his parents, and now he lives with his brother, mm-hmm. right? And I think one thing that I do think the film is smart about is that it doesn't hit you over the head with how he lost his parents, or what his relationship with his brother. Because usually those type of things are kind of like right at the top of the movie. Like, oh, him and his brother, they hate each other. They're always arguing, nothing like. No, it slowly dulls out what their relationship is, what happened to the parents. Mm-hmm. And one of the ways that you learned about what happened to his mom specifically is that Milo, oftentimes in the film is caught staring at a door in their apartment. And what you learn is that behind that door is their mother's room, was their mother's room, but which was also, you know, the place where they found their mother.
Yes.
And I think the scene where he has to deal with finding his mother in there is a very effective scene. And this film then tells you exactly how Milo. It doesn't. You're seeing in real time how he's processed dealing with the loss of his mother, but the film kind of like doles out little tidbits about how his brother dealt with it.
Right.
So much so that by the end of the film, you realize why the brother never leaves the couch.
Right.
he never leaves that couch. He seemingly never leaves the house.
Definitely doesn't leave the house.
Definitely doesn't leave the house. And because he's dealing with his own trauma of not only their mother passing, but you learn that he actually went off and did service. Was a serviceman overseas and saw some things, and it's got him feeling a certain way. You don't feel sorry for him. It's just an explanation.
Right.
And that is one of the smarter things that this movie does. And then the whole talk of how Milo processes vampire lore and it tries to break it down and tries to make realistic sense of it is interesting, right? And how that leads to him forming this bond with Sophie, who obviously is going through some trauma of her own, is interesting. It's all very interesting setup, but it just doesn't, like you said, it doesn't stick the landing, but nor is, it tries so hard to be meditative about vampirism and about the trauma that they're going through that it never has anything really to say about it.
Right.
And that is the shame of it. And the performances, I actually don't mind Chloe's performance. I actually think she's fine in it. Milo, I don't think he's bad. I just think that he was directed to be one way, and thus is that way throughout the film. And there's only glimpses where you see shades of a different tone from him, but those are so fleeting that you miss them.
Yeah.
You know, if you look away, you'll miss them, and then you're just left with basically a blank slate throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
And I think that is a shame. But even as I say that, now that I think about it, when you do start to notice a glimpse of the change is near where they end, when Milo's story does take a bit of a flip.
Right.
Because he's conjured up a plan, say you will, and I won't spoil that part for you, because and his visage does change a little bit, his tone does change a little bit, and then when you learn why at the very end of the film, I have to say that was a little bit of like, okay. For me, not enough for me to like say that I love this film, that I like the film, but it was enough for me to say that if you're a film buff who likes film, or even likes vampire or horror movies,
This could be part of
that
conversation.
There's enough in here for you to watch this and add this to the conversation. I think it adds some interesting things to the conversation. Will it be a satisfying meal? No.
Right.
But it's a nice appetizer.
I think where I kind of disagree, I don't know what it really adds. Like, I was waiting for some great revelation.
Well, I think it does. I think it's interesting to see. I could 100% believe that there's someone out there who has fallen into the same trap, who slides into such a fantasy state that it takes over basically their whole life.
No, I 100% believe that it's realistic. What I don't get with this film is a follow through to that, like this sort of like follow it to, not even follow it through its natural conclusion, but actually dig down into it. Like there's a moment.
Okay, yeah.
There's actually a moment again, and much like you, I do respect this film enough that I won't spoil it, because I will say, if you decide to watch this film, it's best if you don't know anything about it.
Yes, that's true.
But there is a moment in the film, and you know the moment I'm talking about, where I thought they were really going to commit to just how sick he is.
I did too. Yes.
And they blink. The film blinks.
I don't know if we're thinking of the same scene. I don't know if they blinked.
On the beach.
On the beach.
Right, on
yes,
Coney
yes.
Island.
I don't think they blinked.
I 100, because I do think because I really think there's really one end for this character.
See,
and there is, frankly, collateral damage with a character like this.
yeah, but I actually think that beach scene that you're talking about, I don't think that's a blink. I actually think what that is a callback. It's a callback to the beginning of the film, because there's a moment in the beginning of the film where he is at his therapist, or I think more or less.
Yes, and you said
counselor.
right. He says, I've been thinking about it, but I
Right.
haven't actually been doing it.
You're like, yeah, I might think it, but I don't do it.
Yeah.
I think this is a callback to that. And I thought that was realistic.
I didn't like it.
Okay.
I thought everything. I thought everything. I think things ended too clean. That was the other thing. Like, it was a very clean ending.
Oh, I didn't.
Like I think it was
it's
this very sort of black and white morality, and bad people were punished, and good people got away. You didn't get the sense that there was any sort of blowback that was going to happen, or again, any collateral damage. Like, I think for a film like this that really wants to examine trauma, and really want to examine a person who is as damaged as this film sets this character up to be, it has to be some tragedy.
I think this is tragedy.
I don't think it. I think
I get what you're saying about the comeuppance,
Something
but-
has to happen to someone that you care about,
Okay, yeah.
and I don't think anything happens to anyone that we care about. That if from the way you've set up this film, again with this amazingly electric first scene, this is a character that frankly should not be around people.
Yeah, because there is the one scene where you're kind of rooting for him, but then something else happens,
Right.
and you're like,
Right. And that, even that would have been commentary. And I've heard writers talk about this where part of the issue with vampires as this cultural image, certainly post Twilight, is that we've romanticized them. Like, there's always been an element of romanticizing vampires, but kind of post Twilight, they've again, pardon the pun, kind of been defanged.
yeah.
And these are predators. Mm-hmm. And we are their prey. Mm-hmm. So that there should always be a moment, and again,
And this movie lives there.
right, these films that do this spectacularly well. I always think about, Let the Right One In, where it's so subversive that you realize you've been rooting for a monster. And it's just not, it's not, it just doesn't gel,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm not going to die on the hill of it, but
No.
like it well enough.
Absolutely. Absolutely wouldn't die on a hill, but.
But would you recommend people see the Transfiguration?
I would not.
Wow.
I would not recommend
Okay.
people see this film. I think this is a film that if your reaction is like mine, it's going to make you want to go. Because when you said worthy addition, what I really wanted to say, would you rather someone watch this for the first time or watch Near Dark for the 15th time?
Yeah, I mean, okay. That's
But look,
not fair, but I get you.
I mean, why is that not fair? I didn't say watch this for the first time or watch Near Dark for the first time. I'm saying you have watched Near Dark 14 times.
Mm-hmm.
Would you rather watch this for the first time or watch Near Dark for the 15th time?
I think
that's a fair question.
okay, and that is a fair question, and I think that if you are a fan of a film like Near Dark, and you have seen it 14 times,
14 times.
then watch The Transfiguration.
I would not make that recommendation.
I think it adds a little something to that conversation. Now, that being said, that's if you're a fan of vampirism or you're just a horror film
Sure.
like addict.
Sure.
Or historian.
Right.
So you want to see them all.
Right.
See the Transfiguration and then write to us and whether or not this is actually a horror movie. But overall, I do think I have to side with you. Then I don't know if it's necessarily a rewarding time to go to recommend people to see the Transfiguration.
Yeah.
I want to. I really do want to.
Me
but
too.
I just can't.
Look, again, this is something that is right. That's right up my alley.
Yeah.
Like everything about this film is the type of film that I love.
Yeah, and it's a good looking movie considering
Right.
it's independent. It's a good looking movie.
Right, and I really it's fairly short film. I think it's an hour and 37 minutes.
That's it.
And I really was like a half hour in. Like, I don't think I'm really in. Well, you know what it was? I kept waiting for a flip, or revelation, or a reversal, or something that retroactively makes you
Reconsider,
reevaluate everything
you've seen.
so that so when I watch this a second time,
Now I'm picking it up and yeah,
and it's
no,
just not.
it's not there.
There, you get to the end and you realize it's what you see is what you get.
Fair.
So
Fair. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our review of the Transfiguration here in Bootober. Before we tell you what we're going to be watching and reviewing next week, I invite you to send all of your thoughts, all of your desires,
okay, don't send us all of your desires. Boundaries.
all of your desires.
Send your desires to Lynn.
Send them to michauxmission@gmail.com. MICHEAUX MISSION.
See, that's why we can't have nice things.
You can also follow us on all of your favorite social media, ladies and gentlemen. You can hit us up at I'm looking at the chat. Jason is like desires, LOL. Anyway, yes. On all the social media at Michaux Mission. That is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Michaux Mission. You can follow us, like and follow us. You can subscribe to the Michaux Mission on YouTube at Michaux Mission. Hit the subscribe bell and hit that bell so you're notified when we load up any of our new films. When you're notified when we're going live. Notified where our very and seemingly adored shorties go up on Michaux Mission on YouTube. So hit that bell and subscribe. All right. You can also, if you're on Facebook, you can join our Facebook group, Michaux Mission, where our missionaries get in and they tell us all the latest things that are going on in Black cinema and Black Hollywood. And me and Vince jump in there and have a good time talking with everybody. It's mostly Vincent, I'll be honest, because I am busy editing stuff. But Vincent is right there having a good time with everyone. And he comes back and tells me, he's like, yo, you should have been there. I'm sorry. All right. The Michaux Mission also streams live every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. live from Young Chunk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace. Go to thevideocontentfactory.com so that you can book your time here in one of their fabulous studios. They've got a bunch of studios on the other side of this camera, ladies and gentlemen, that you would not believe. And they can all be yours for the renting at thevideocontentfactory.com. Get your butt down to Young Junk in Manayunk. All right? The Michaud Mission is also a proud member of The Podglomerate, thepodglomerate.com. They make podcasts work. And I'm going to take a quick moment to just send a very special shout out to our associate producer out there in California, Mo Poplar.
What's up, Mo?
What's up, Mo? I'm giving him a shout out, ladies and gentlemen, because behind the scenes, Mo is always working very hard to come up with different concepts, different ideas for the Michaud Mission, develop side projects, new documentary series that we're going to be doing with Mo, getting us out there into bigger and better audience, and he works tirelessly at it. So I want to
Yes, sir.
show our appreciation to Mo.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mo.
Yeah. Along those lines, it didn't come up. I meant to talk about black vampires. You know, I meant to say Rodney Barnes, the writer and comic writer, has a graphic novel that came out in the past few weeks, a Blackula graphic. It's like a direct sequel to the first film, Blackula.
Nice.
It is bananas good.
Really?
Yeah. Rodney Barnes also has an ongoing comic book series called, appropriately enough, Philadelphia, set here in Philadelphia, about black vampires. That is really, really good.
I have the first
Trade, right?
first trade of that.
Yeah.
And it was very good. I need to catch up on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
I'm
dope.
assuming it has been optioned.
I would think so by now. It's been around for a minute.
But it's like, you know, I'm waiting for the great black vampire film since Blade. And I think I'm going to put my chips on Philadelphia. Okay.
Or,
my God, give them Blackula. Like, give them Blackula and let them make Blackula.
well, we've talked about Black.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
to be
So.
redone. You know what I mean? So, all right.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, here on the Michaud Mission, it is my turn to bring you a film. And it is also features vampires.
All right. More vampires.
And it also features vampires in a lovely urban hamlet
Urban vampires.
doing battle with urbanites.
Go to the bodega and get some blood.
Yes. In a little film that I call, because it's titled this way,
I call it that because we all call it that.
Vampires versus the Bronx.
What's that movie about?
Well, there's these vampires.
Okay.
And they are fighting the Bronx.
The entire Bronx.
The entire Bronx.
That's
They
going to be
are taking it on.
That's going to be quite a brawl.
Quite a Donnybrook.
It's going to be a hullabaloo.
So
A fracas.
fracas. Yes. Join us for the barn burner that is known as Vampires versus the Bronx next week here in Bootober on the Michaud Mission. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting we say,
We'll see you in the